Good afternoon, dear listener, and welcome to today's episode of HMU's Daily Rendezvous on your brother and friend MC Leaky. And today, like we announced earlier, we are going to be discussing the role that the Nigeria Copyright Commission plays in ensuring that the creative materials produced in this country by creative practitioners are protected from counterfeiting and piracy. Of course, you would agree with me that most creative practitioners in our country are lamenting and crying because of the speed and scope of piracy and counterfeiting of their products, which has significantly impacted their financial gain, accruable gains from this creative business. All right. Today, there are some questions we want to ask the Director General of Nigeria Copyright Commission, in the person of Dr. John Essin. We want to ask you some of the things we feel would help to mitigate the ugly trend that has become prevalent in our country in recent times. All right, the first question we want to ask you is this. Does the agency have adequate manpower to enable it to carry out its function satisfactorily? Because um, down here in the eastern part of the country where I reside, we hardly, know anything about Nigeria Copyright Commission apart from those who are in the creative industry who have published books or released songs on online platforms. Those are the people who know what copyright is. In this part of the country. So what we're saying is, do you think that your officers are doing enough to intimate the general public about your activities and role and function and why your agency is important to national growth and development? All right, the second question we're asking today is this. How does the Commission encourage people in the creative industry to continue to ply their trade? Because counterfeiting and piracy is enough discouragement to people who are in the creative industry. I hope your officers do not function like some corrupt police officers, who indulge in what is called pay pass. You pass when you pay. All right. Okay. So I hope your officers are not like that. Then we are also asking you this. Is there any event that your commission holds annually or monthly or periodically to raise awareness about counterfeiting? All right, the dangers of counterfeiting. Okay, and then finally for today, is there a mechanism that's been put in place to monitor and prevent creative works from being pirated? Okay, these are the questions that we are asking you today, and we know that you are going to respond to them, all right, in due course. All right, now you can be a part of what we're doing today by dropping your comments down there at the comment section. All right, now, apart from the Nigeria Copyright Commission, there's an organization also known as um, World Intellectual Property Organization. All right, World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. All right, so I am asking this evening, do you think that the Nigeria Copyright Commission is following the blueprint set out by the World Intellectual Property Organization? Because the impact of the Nigerian Copyright Commission is relevant. For instance, I wrote a novel down of my first novel in 2021 that's Torn Apart, all right? And that book has become the most pirated novel in the world today. I know what I'm saying, okay? And I only published it on Amazon. And today, there's no part of this country where Turn Apart is not said, but I don't receive a penny out of the wholesales that are made on Turn Apart. Have you seen it? So it is enough discouragement. And after that particular novel that I wrote, I've written more works, Spiral Jera, for instance, that I wrote 2 years ago or thereabout, has also suffered the same thing. So what are we saying in this country? how are you encouraging creative people like us to continue to have a sense of belonging in this country called Nigeria? All right, we'll be back after this time out. My name is MC Likiliki, and this is Ismail the Wonderful. Stay tuned. Now you're welcome back from that short break that we went for, and then this is Ismail's Daily Rendezvous on product for MC Likiliki. Now, continuing, we talked about a preventive policing of the creative industry so that we prevent the creative works that emanates from our country from being pirated and counterfeited. Okay, now in conventional policing, there's something known as detectives, people who conduct investigation and will be able to preempt the activities of criminals. Now, does the commission have anything like that in place to checkmate piracy? Not reactive uh, prosecution and policing. No, no, no. We're talking about preventive. Not proactive. You know, uh, prevention of this piracy and counterfeiting of creative products in our country. It's just something that we can come up with. Because you find out that those who are in the creative industry are not, actually happy with what is happening. Talk about what is happening in Nollywood, talk about what is happening in the book and publication industry. You find out that you will publish a book with just one publishing firm. And by the time you see Jack, every other publishing company in Nigeria would be selling the same book and be going scot free. It's something that is very, very appalling. How can we, stem the tide? Okay, and then when we talk about the issue of manpower, the people who will go about, monitoring, you know, um, I think the Association of Nigerian Authors has a role to play, in checking. Is there not a way of, having creative writers registered in Nigeria? Because in America, in the United States, there's something known as ASCAP, right? An organization uh, that is in charge of everyone who is in the creative industry, be it in music, film, and book publication industry. So in Nigeria, does ANA, Nigeria Association of Nigerian Authors, play the same role? Because I think if someone who is not registered with ANA publishes a book in Nigeria, how does ANA react to that? Because that's the first place to begin from. And all these publishing firms who go about reproducing books by other people, what does Anna do to ensure that that particular ugly and discouraging, tradition comes to an end, is nipped in the bud? But what are we doing? Because when you are robbing Peter to people, it doesn't all go well for anybody. All right. So, moving on, we're also looking at the judicial system. When these criminals are reported, what does our judicial system do to ensure that, these people that are reported, do not go scot free and people that report them end up being the scapegoats? We live in a country where the amount of money you can offer, you know, gives you freedom. So what is the judicial system doing to ensure that people who have been victimized, who have been unduly deprived of their rights, get justice speedily? And then finally, for today, whilst we're waiting for the DG to respond, it is on this note that I'm urging, fellow practitioners in the creative industry not to relent, to see how we can form a unified front, to begin to use even if it's creating an online platform that we can use to encourage ourselves and then tell ourselves the truth. For instance, there's something that happened years ago whilst I was in the city of Apa, when I was writing songs, and some people ended up trying to produce the song that I was writing in my own house, in the own apartment I was staying. So have you seen it? Those things are, people who feel that they are sacred cows, they can do anything that they like. It's not without the permission of the composer. Have you seen it? So that's what we're saying. How can we, tell ourselves the truth? Those of us that are in the industry. If someone writes a song, you don't go through the back door and try to publish it and then begin to gain from what does not belong to you. All right, until I come your way again next time. By God's grace, my name is MC Legally, and this is Ismus Daily Wonderful on Ismus TV. Stay blessed.